People love American Restoration because it shows how magical it is to bring old treasures back to life and because of its passion and creativity. It was one of the most interesting TV shows full of history and fun until a terrible accident changed everything. It really shook up the team and ended a show that seemed like it could do no wrong. Come along with us as we talk about the sad events that led to the end of the popular show, how everything began. Millions of people watched American Restoration, a popular reality show on the History Channel that got people excited about giving old riches new life. The filming for the show's first 6 seasons took place in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is a busy city. It showed what happened every day at Rick's Restorations, the company that Rick Dale owns. Rick and his team took old broken things and fixed them up so they looked like they did when they were new. This gave old treasures a second chance to shine. Rick Dale's path into the world of repair did not start with a TV camera crew or a film crew. It began much earlier when he was a child in Las Vegas. Rick grew up in a city known for its bright lights and steady change. He was drawn to things that were left over from the past. He was interested in old things. Other kids might have spent their days playing sports or computer games, but Rick would often be found exploring the treasures that other people had thrown away in junkyards and antique stores. Rick had a rare talent for fixing things from a very young age. Old tools were taken apart by him just to see how they worked. He would then put them back together better than before. He cared about more than just building things. It was about appreciating the skill and work that went into creating these things. He thought that every rusty machine had a story hidden inside it, a piece of history just ready to be found. He learned about a different time from each bolt and gear. His love for history and preserving things grew stronger with each item he fixed. Even after Rick became an adult, his love for fixing things up didn't go away. Instead, things got worse. He chose to turn his hobby into a job, and after a lot of determination and hard work, he started Rick's Restorations. It wasn't easy to start the business from scratch. Rick had to deal with many problems, such as not having enough money and not being able to find people who shared his love of old things. But in the end, his hard work and skill paid off. Word slowly got around about how great Rick's work was. People knew his shop for its high-quality work, careful attention to detail, and clear love that showed in every restoration. Some people only saw rust and decay, but Rick saw promise. Rick was excited about every job, whether it was fixing up a broken-down car, a battered soda machine, or a dusty old bicycle. He thought these things were more than just things. They were historical artifacts. He could bring them back to life with the right care and skills. There was no doubt that Rick would get the attention of TV producers soon, given his natural ability and hard work. The History Channel already had a popular show called Pawn Stars that showed things being fixed up from time to time. The directors were amazed by Rick's skill, his drive, and the powerful stories in the pieces he worked on. Not only did they think Rick was a great craftsman, but they also thought he could bring history to life in a way that many people could understand. Rick wasn't sure about going into the spotlight at first. He was used to working in his shop and not in front of cameras. He also didn't think there was enough stuff to make a show out of what he did. At that time, he mostly fixed up old gas pumps and vending machines, which he wasn't sure people would find interesting. However, Rick agreed to give it a try after being pushed by the production team. That choice was the start of the American Restoration. The idea behind the show was simple but very attractive. Old, unused things were brought back to life with skill, creativity, and a lot of hard work in each show. Rick became a fan favorite right away because of his rough charm and true love for what he did. His changes were almost magical. They brought back memories of the past and gave him a lively working form. It also helped a lot that Rick's team did well. With his silly personality and never-ending jokes, his brother Ron kept things light and also showed how good a mechanic he was. The business side was run easily by Rick's wife Kelly, who was careful with customers and money. Rick had spent his whole life learning these skills, and their eager-to-learn son Tyler was often seen working with his dad while being closely watched. Other people on the team, like Cowboy, a rough but skilled fabricator, and Bretley, a helper who meant well but was sometimes clumsy, gave the show their own charm and personality. They felt more like a family than co-workers when they were together. And that real link showed up on the screen. People watched for more than just the repairs. They watched for the relationships, the jokes, the challenges, and the wins. In a short time, American Restoration became one of the most popular shows on the History Channel. A record-setting 6.5 million people watched it at its peak, making it the most-watched show on the network's history. For 6 years, the show shared the heart, skill, and spirit of Rick Dale and his unique team while bringing history to life one project at a time. The whole story of American Revival. The thing that made American Restoration stand out from other reality shows on TV was that it combined real craftsmanship with strong storytelling in a way that felt whole and honest. A lot of reality shows were about fights, quick fixes, or big makeovers, but American Restoration was about something much deeper. People could see what went on behind the scenes of repair projects. It showed not only the work but also the heart behind each one. It was always interesting and hard to work on a new project. In each episode, an old thing was shown that had seen better days. When these pieces were found, they were often broken, rusted, and looked like they would never be used again. The fun starts as soon as Rick Dale and his team at Rick's Restorations get their hands on these long-lost treasures. They would look at every part of the item carefully and figure out what had to be done to make it look like it did when it was first bought. Not only was this early part of the process needed, it had to happen. Everything that came after it was built on top of it. The team would make a plan, and sometimes they would find that some parts had to be redone from scratch. People who watched were there for the whole trip. Few shows have ever combined skilled craftsmanship, heartfelt storytelling, and deep feeling as well as American Restoration did. From the first look at the broken-down item to the final stunning reveal, the show did it all. It was truly unique because it had this rare mix, which helped it stand out in the crowded world of reality TV. The show gave people something real, beautiful, and memorable. The show was very interesting because it went into great detail about the real work that goes into repair. In each episode, they showed how long and how much work it took to take something apart into its tiny parts. Every frame, nut, and bolt was cleaned, fixed, or replaced as needed. It was always clear that the team cared about being real. They would often use both new and old tools and methods to make sure the item looked and felt exactly the same as it did when it was first made. On the other hand, American Restoration was never just about updating old tools. Bring the past back to life was the show's theme. Everything on the show had a story, and it took time to find those stories. All of the items held memories from a different time. There was a stereo that played music in a diner in the 1950s, a bright gas pump that stood proudly at a roadside station, and an old bicycle that was raced through the streets of a small town. It made each project even more special to learn about its past. Being able to understand not only the thing but also the world it came from was like going back in time. The human stories that went with these things made the show even stronger. A lot of the things that people brought into Rick's shop weren't just old things. They were very important to the family. Having been passed down from generation to generation, they held the memories and feelings of whole families. It was clear to see how important these things were to the people who brought them in. People who saw it could feel how deeply these people felt about these things. It was often very moving to see these sentimental items being brought back to their former beauty. The client's emotions when they came back to see the finished work will stay with you forever. A lot of people were moved to tears when they saw something they loved come back to life in such a beautiful way. The emotional scenes gave the show depth and made it so much more than just another show about solving things. It was a way to respect the past, keep memories alive, and celebrate family history. A strong sense of nostalgia ran through every show as well. Today most things are made cheaply and thrown away right away. American Restoration took fans back to a time when things were made to last. On the show, the things that were fixed up were living pieces of history that gave people a way of life that was often simpler, slower, and more important. People who watched were not just amused, they were taken back to a time when quality work was important. When each ding and scratch told a story, the most cherished repair of the show. One of the best things about Rick Dale is his 1951 Ford F-100 pickup truck. It shows how skilled and dedicated he is. It's not just an old car that's been brought back to life. It shows how much he loves what he does and how hard he works at it. This truck has been a part of Rick's story for a long time. It represents the hard work and long hours needed to bring something long lost back to life. In the early days of the show, the truck was a big deal. Rick has had a relationship with this truck for more than 15 years. He bought it in pieces, but there was never a good time to put all of the pieces back together. Planned work and other projects always came first, leaving the truck to wait its turn. All of that changed when the TV show American Restoration started. When the producers saw the truck, they knew right away that it had promise. They pushed Rick to put it at the top of his long list of projects and finally bring it back to life. Rick finally got motivated to start the work after that push. At one point, Rick was asked to drive the Ford F-100 to Ely, Nevada, where cameras were being used. The truck wasn't ready for that trip, and Rick was right, it broke down while they were shooting. He didn't let this setback slow him down, though. Furthermore, it let viewers see the whole trip. The process of turning a bunch of rusty parts into a tough, shiny truck. It was all caught on camera, which made the truck story even more interesting for people who watched the show. The Ford F-100 slowly became the shop's reliable workhorse as the repair went on. It was used to get parts, run trips, and move things around. The truck's makeover showed that it was more than just a showpiece. It was a reflection of the spirit of American restoration. Making something new out of something old and broken. Instead of just sitting in a shed, like many classic cars, this truck was used every day. Its appearance on American Restoration helped show off not only how beautiful the truck was, but also how talented Rick was as an artist. Rick's 1951 Ford F-100 is from Ford's first line of FS cars. These cars were made to be strong and reliable in America after World War II. Today his repaired version shines with a deep black paint job, chrome accents that are smooth, and bodywork that is beautifully finished. Rick hasn't told anyone about some of the mechanical changes he's made, but it's clear that the truck has both old-school style and current dependability. Rick gives the truck an honest 8 out of 10 stars, knowing that it could still use some small tweaks to make it better. The truck stood out in every scene it was in because it caught the light just right. The engine growled with pride, and the story behind it made it even more valuable. The black paint on the truck makes it hard to miss, giving it a strong and memorable look. You can almost feel its spirit every time it moves across the screen. There's more to it than just a repaired car. Rick Dale's journey is alive and well in this piece, which is a perfect representation of the heart and soul he puts into everything he fixes up. The people who worked at Rick's restorations were just as important as the things they fixed, though. Their love for the show, hard work, and individuality were major factors in its success. People who watched felt like they were part of a family because they let them into the workshop and shared every win and every battle. The magic could not last forever, which was sad. An accident finally put an abrupt and painful end to the much-loved show, leaving fans shocked and heartbroken. What caused American Restoration to end in 2014? For American Restoration, things began to go wrong. The managers made a choice that Rick Dale could not agree with. They wanted to add more scripted drama to the episodes, setting up fake problems and tensions that Rick thought were not real at all. This idea was too much for a man whose career and image were built on telling true stories and fixing things that were broken. Rick did a lot more than just fix things. It was a way to celebrate the creative people who came before. Rick had always been proud of how honest his work was. Each project and repair was done with real feelings and hard work, and the stories behind each piece were just as important as the end result. He made sure to be clear and loud about his worries. The directors were set on going with their new plan, though. They thought the show needed something extra to stay famous and keep people interested. A lot of them thought that adding drama, even if it wasn't real, was the only way to keep the show going. Rick and the producers were getting more and more angry with each other until there was no turning back. Finally, a choice was made that would change the course of American repair for good. The History Channel shocked and broke our hearts when they decided to take Rick Dale and his whole team off the show. The faces that fans had grown to love and trust were gone without a word. The show tried to be something different by not focused on Rick's shop. It turned the attention to 5 shops across the country, each of which did a different kind of repair. Body Stroud Industries from Los Angeles brought their skills to fix up old cars. The North Carolina Museum Wheels Through Time is known for its old motorbikes. In Detroit, Bob's Garage was all about fixing up light signs. Custom cars were worked on at Steve's Restorations and Hot Rods in New York. In Las Vegas, Monkey Business bought and sold all kinds of strange and unique old things. At first, this new way of doing things looked like it could be fun. The shops and the things they sold were very different from one another. But there was something important missing, even though there were new people and tasks. It wasn't the same show anymore. The closeness, the intense moments, and the real feeling that made American restoration so great were missing from this one. The new version felt disorganized, like a bunch of separate projects rather than a real trip. Rick and his team were what made the show fun to watch. Everything had been held together by their love, their bonds, and their hard work. They made American restoration feel empty without them. People who had been watching the show for years were shocked and very upset. A lot of people felt lost without Rick to lead them through each show. A lot of people watched mostly to see Rick work with his hands and bring old treasures back to life. The magic was gone at that point though. Not everyone liked the 7th season when it came out in January 2016. A few people liked seeing the new shops and different types of renovations, but most of the longtime fans were upset. They didn't connect emotionally with the new group as much. They didn't see a reason to keep watching without Rick and his team. Rick loved his fans very much, even though he wasn't on the show anymore. He put up a video telling them to use the official American Restoration website to share their opinions and be heard. But he didn't say anything about the exact reasons why he was fired. Even now, no one knows the real story behind the choice. Fans still paid attention. They complained about the loss of the original group on social media and online forums, saying how sad and angry they were. So many people had found a safe and familiar place to escape, and now it was gone. Still, the memories of the repairs, the beautiful work, and the touching stories stayed with them. Even though they were good, the new team had trouble connecting with the crowd in the same way. It was impossible to bring back the warmth and honesty that Rick and his team had brought to the show. Ratings began to drop because of this. The History Channel put all of their money on a new model in the hopes that it would give the show new life, but instead, it turned off the old fans. Behind the scenes, the new shops were under a lot of the same stress that had made things hard for Rick. Tight shooting schedules, constant calls for exciting content, and the push for fake drama all made the workplace stressful. There were rumors that the producers and the new group members were having problems, which were the same ones that made Rick quit in the first place. The new version of American Restoration could not capture the spirit of the original, no matter how hard they tried. This became clearer as the months went by. It was clear what was going to happen by the end of 2016. The show, which used to be one of History Channel's best, was quietly killed off. The network moved on to other projects, and American Restoration became a thing of the past on TV. Rick made a touching video for his fans in which he thought about his trip after he left. He talked with pride about what he had done on the show and how it had changed things. He also said that the experience had cost him in some ways, especially when it came to his family and personal life. Rick learned a very important lesson from the whole thing. It was more important than anything else for him to stick to his beliefs, even when he had to make tough decisions. It wasn't easy to find a balance between my own ideas and what the entertainment industry wanted. But Rick decided to keep the honesty and honor that made him such a beloved American hero in the first place.
It was a sad and painful end to a show that had once shown how beautiful repair can be and how important it is to keep history alive. But for people who watched from the start, Rick Dale's legacy goes on as a reminder of what real artistry and passion look like. People who watch American Restoration still feel a special connection to the show. It's a beautiful lesson of how important it is to respect the past and take real care of the things we love. If you thought that Rick and his team would be back on American Restoration, you were shocked when the 7th season was announced without them. Longtime viewers were confused and upset by this sudden change. They didn't understand why their favorite team had been taken off the show after becoming such an important part of their lives. But Rick Dale didn't waste any time going forward after the cameras stopped rolling. He had made a name for himself by fixing up old cars and soda machines, but he chose a different road. Rick started a new company called My Best Font Forward Creations to do laser cutting and stitching. He was able to be creative and flexible in this new project. Rick did more than just run his business, he also started writing. The name of the book he wrote is Classic Soda Machines, and fans can buy it on Amazon. It was clear that Rick wasn't going to turn around. He kept himself busy and artistic even after everyone stopped paying attention to him.